How much are you willing to alter your lifestyle to get what you want? What does your life look like after you've said yes to something? How many no's would you say in service to one yes? Greg McKeown explores this topic and he says, essentialism isn't about getting more things done. It's about getting the right things done. Now look, I can hop on and on about our desire to chase more and to get it all in our culture today, but there'll be future videos for that. I want to start this video by talking about the Sermon on the Mount, which I think is one of the most amazing passages in scripture. Matthew chapter 5 verse 37, and it says, all you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. I want to talk for a second about commitment. We've learned to, for whatever reason, undervalue commitment in our culture. And I've seen that amongst young people specifically, there isn't much of a relationship with commitment. If anything, there's the view that you could just get things because you want things. We just have these assumptions, right? That you can just want something and because you want it, you ought to get it. It should be yours because you want it, right? But that's not the case. In real life, you have to be committed to getting something. And a lot of times that commitment, like I said earlier, is one yes to this thing. Yes, I will pursue it. That means up to 1,000 no's to everything else that isn't that thing. So commitment is actually that one decision you make. That's a decision you reinforce every day. Basically, what I mean by that is that you make the decision once and then you're going to make the decision again every day until you get that specific thing. The thing that really marks your level of commitment is who you are behind a closed door. So I believe that commitment eclipses an oath. It eclipses a vow. It eclipses, it's worth way more than an obligation. None of those things even matter because those things become void if you don't decide to be committed on your own. So you can go on and still fail in the area of that oath that you're making, that vow that you make. You can go on to fall short of that because you were never committed in the first place. One of the things that give us a clear picture into our relationship with commitment is the area of marriage. Now, if you look at stats today, more people are getting married later, more children are being born out of wedlock, less people are getting married, and more people that are married are getting divorced. I think that we do live in a time where there is a sense of like apathy towards commitment. For whatever reason, people don't want to commit to things. And marriage is one of the scariest commitments a person can make. Think about it. You're married to one person your whole life. That's what most people that start in marriage would like, for them to have only ever been married to that one person. And that's a scary thing to do. It's very scary. You guys are also saying to the world in many ways, a marriage is also a vow. It's a covenant as well. You're vowing to create conditions in your house that is perfect for raising children. And all of us have a little sibling, a little cousin, a niece, a nephew. We all know those little things are, a child is no joke, okay? Every person that's interacted with a child can tell you for free, a child is no joke. So to even suppose that you and another person who quite frankly is, sometimes that person is a stranger, for honest, because they grew up in a whole different culture, a whole different city, sometimes a whole different part of the world, right? And to say you and this person can come together and prepare the conditions that are ready for you to raise another human being that could become the next Adolf Hitler. You don't know that. It could happen. You know, that's pretty scary. And that's a pretty bold thing to do. We need to see our commitments through. We need to be proven to be committed people. Our culture frowns on commitment. It's all about authenticity and how you feel in the moment. What you think is worthwhile pursuing in the moment. Never mind something that you vowed to yourself long ago. Never mind an agreement you made with yourself long ago. No, it's not about that. It's about what I want now, right? And our culture would much rather have us thinking, oh, I want it all, than to have us thinking, if I can just do this one thing, which is exactly what that book, Essentialism, which I recommend for everyone. That book talks heavily about that and mentions something very important that blew my mind, which is essentially, see what I did there? You need to think of what your one thing is, your highest possible contribution to the world is, and say yes to that thing so that that yes goes on to be a no for 1,000 other things. Because you'll say yes to one thing, you always say no to another. You can never say yes to everything, right? And so a lot of us, especially in our 20s, I mean, it's something that people kind of always have known, but we're not ready for a lot of the things we want. Because a lot of the things you want are on the other side of extensive commitment that will stretch on for years and years and years and years and years before you even scratch the surface of some of those things that you would like. Commitment and responsibility are twins, right? Commitment and responsibility are nearly identical. And in a time where a lot of people are trying to abdicate responsibility, I don't even think the idea of abdicating responsibility or the reality of responsibility being abdicated is a thing of our current time. I think it's a thing that has been with human beings from the beginning of time. As long as there's been leadership roles and roles where certain people would have to step up, it's been the reality that other people run away from the call, if we can call it that, or they run away from that role where a lot is going to be demanded out of them. If we go to the Bible, you look at Exodus, you see that even Moses ran away from his calling. Jonah ran away from what God had instructed him to do, right? It's not a new concept, but the reality is that that place where no one wants to take charge, no one wants to be the first to do something different, no one wants to be daring, no one wants to take responsibility. A lot of times those areas are, number one, the areas where the most growth can happen. And number two, that's an opportunity for you to step up and to show not only yourself, but the whole world, your boss, your colleagues, what's actually on the inside of you, what you actually have the ability to do. Sometimes some people, all they have is that they're tough. It's literally like some people are they're just tough as bricks, man. Like you can't put them through anything that's going to get them to quit. And that's only a result of surviving countless things. And that's character development like no one ever thinks. Every sacrifice you'll ever make because of your commitment is the cost of commitment. Commitment is a cost. That's just how it is. If you commit to something, you've already said no to a lot of other things already. I think that we sometimes look at a back door to things and try and see how can we get ourselves out of this. And this is actually one of the reasons why I even started this channel altogether, so that a lot of you guys out there could start having those difficult conversations with your parents about, Dad, you want me to study architecture, but Dad, I don't think I want to study architecture. If you have that conversation early, you're going to be in a better position, right, to maybe end up studying what you want. Instead of getting to that school, starting to study that course, and then constantly looking for ways how you can get out of it, right? Because if you are already in something and you're always looking for ways to get out of it, you're not committed. And look, it's fine to sometimes not have the buy-in of something that you need to do, but what I would like for you is for you to be in the door and already be determined that I'm going to see this thing through, whatever it is. And that's why it's so important that every major commitment you'll ever make, you need to sit with and be cautious about, extremely cautious. You need to be very careful. Things like a car, a house, the person you're going to marry, the career path you're heading in, all these different things, you need to immediately sit down with all the facts around those things, all the things you've understood around those things, all the biases you have around those things. You need to sit with them, collect the information, sit with it, sit with the stories people have told you about those things, and come to a conclusion yourself so that when you go in, you are committed. Because consequences are always going to be there for decisions we make. There's a reason why if I go to a dealership and I buy a car, the second I've signed on me purchasing that vehicle, there has to be installments. If I'm financed with the bank, I have to have it insured. There are certain agreements that are non-negotiables that have to be followed through, irrespective of how I feel about them. So because I've made the decision, certain things have to follow. That's all there is to it. There's no other way to do it. And I think that that's just how life is also. It's the same when you get married. The fact that you've agreed to that thing, certain things have to follow. And we can never say, oh no, I can never be with one woman my whole life. I saw a trailer for that Netflix movie, that's like been released recently, Umjolo, and it talks about like the guy's like, I can never be with one woman my whole life. And I'm like, guys, we got here, marriage was here. Okay, you can't determine what marriage is. Wafita, you know, we found it here. You can't describe something you found here. If you found it here, then you need to go with what the description of the thing is and follow suit. And if there are parts of your lifestyle or whatever that you need to change, then you have to change it. And it's the same. That's what commitment is, you know. It chooses you. The consequences choose you. The consequences sometimes are attached to the decision you've made. All you can do is manage them. All you can do is make sure that it's something that's actually going to benefit you, something that you actually want. That's where it all starts. Because if you just rush into something, people are going to get hurt. Miles Monroe once said something deep. He said, there's no such thing as a personal decision. And I believe that's spot on. I could decide that I'm going to sleep around. No one's going to tell me anything. It's my life. I'm just going to sleep around. And as long as I use protection, I'm safe. I'm good. But that's the biggest falsehood ever. Because on the other end of that, someone that I will eventually decide to marry is going to have to suffer for the decisions that I made that I would have called personal decisions. So there's no such thing as a personal decision. Dude, it's crazy because I actually, my heart is really to get a lot of you guys out there to understand that there's no such thing as living a life free from pressure. Because pressure is due to you the second you're born. And there's pressure irrespective of your socioeconomic situation, irrespective of where you were born, there's pressure. Because the second you hit puberty and you're able to form sperm cells as a young man and you can impregnate a woman out there, there's pressure because you could get someone impregnated. And if you impregnate, then there's pressure because then you have to be there for that woman. All your life is full of pressure. I think that, a lot of this is a rant, and I think I'll just make a future video just about pressure alone. A lot of the TikTokers, the YouTubers, and all these people that you follow online that encourage you, start a side hustle, start investing, start a business, start this, start that, you can make money. All of those people, what they tend to do is they omit, meaning that they leave out the part that talks about commitment because it's easy. If you leave out commitment, then it's easy. I actually think a part of me feels like it's kind of unethical. I never would want anyone to step into something thinking it's going to be easy. And then they get there and they find out this thing is difficult. You know what I mean? In terms of how motivated you are, it's going to ebb and flow. With anything that you pursue, anything that you want to undertake in your life, is going to have a degree of, oh, I felt like doing this, it was easy today. Or, oh, I hated this, it was difficult. And that's where commitment steps in. When things are fresh, you're operating on a high. You want to do the thing. You're motivated, right? The high sustains you in the beginning, but the real work starts when you're not on the high anymore. Then you need to show up for the muse. I got that from The War of Art. Stephen Pressfield says in his book, the most important thing about art is to work. Nothing else matters except sitting down every day and trying. We must do our work for its own sake, not for fortune or attention or applause. A lot of times, something that we want to do looks sexy on the outside. And so we make a decision to either pursue that thing or say yes to that thing. But what we don't know is that we've committed to it as well, one way or another. And then we are in the thing. And once we are in the thing, suddenly we realize that this roller coaster is traveling at 259 kilometers an hour at a height of 800 meters, and we're afraid of heights and we hate fast cars. And at that point, it's too late because we're already in the thing. So to jump off of that thing is going to kill you. It's wrong for us to think that it's okay to get into things and just find a way out when they're no longer suiting us. And that's why I just think that what's the smarter way to go through your life is always sifting things and trying to decide what actually serves you and what doesn't. What actually aligns with the vision you have for your life and what doesn't. And if you don't have a vision for your life, I'll always say this, I think, every video. If you don't have a vision for your life, take some weeks away from social media. Invite quiet into your life so that you can decide what are the things you want. Because if you haven't decided what the things you want are, then you're always going to be reaching for absolutely everything there is out there. Everything's going to look sexy to you. Jesus came onto this planet with an end game in mind. that wasn't a very pretty one. It wasn't what even the Jews would have thought of as being the way the Messiah would have came. But that's his decision that he made when he came down already. That's the decision God made when he sent Jesus already. Enduring the grueling process of being crucified. That in itself describes for us, I think, what commitment actually is. And now I know I'm talking a lot about marriage, but I'm getting married soon, and so it means a lot to me, I think, for me to understand this. So maybe I'm repeating it to myself as well. But commitment is in a way kind of like a crucible, because it is going to make you grow up as well. A crucible means a situation of severe trial or in which different elements interact, leading to the creation of something new. A lot of the major commitments you'll make in your life are exactly this. They're a crucible. It's the fire you go into, and when you come out, you need to be different. You need to be new. And I guarantee you, a lot of the good commitments you can ever make in your life, you will come out changed, and you'll come out better, and your future self will thank you for it. That's all I have for today's video, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed it, and I really hope it grows you, man. I really hope that it grows you. In the comments down below, I would like to hear of a time when you committed to something or said yes to something and it ended up biting you in the backside. You ended up hating that you said yes to it. Come on, let us learn those lessons as well. Don't rob us of the opportunity to learn, because some of these things we don't know about, you know. Please like and subscribe and join this family, guys. Let's start these dialogues. Let's start these conversations. Let's grow together, and let's grow one another. Let's help our siblings. Let's help our nieces and nephews that are going through tough times growing up. Dude, adulting is no joke, and we're all thrust into it. So let's make it one to remember. And that's all for today, guys. Peace out.